Welcome to the Rapid Improvement event. This is the part of the project where the team gets the chance to set everything else aside and work together to develop, test, and implement a solution that will fix the problem.
We started with identifying that our project was a good candidate for an RIE. The team was selected and the project was formally kicked off or handed off from the sponsor to the RIE team. The RIE lead coordinated all the tasks needed to prepare the event, which brought us to this spot, the actual event.
During the project kickoff, the team will have had discussion with the sponsor to estimate the number of days needed for this event. And then during the preparation, the RIE lead will have worked through the detailed agenda as well, which is when the event duration would have been determined. At this point, we're ready to facilitate the event.
As the RIE lead, you'll have your own combination of strengths and skills. You may be a process or organizational expert. You should definitely be skilled in applying continuous improvement tools and methods, and a big part of your role as the RIE lead is to facilitate this event. This means that you need to have your very strong facilitator skills handy. Running a multi-day RIE workshop is very different from facilitating a meeting or leading a training event.
This RIE training module does not include facilitation skills training. If you're not yet qualified as a skilled facilitator, we highly recommend taking our online facilitation skills module, which is one of the modules offered under our Purple Belt course.
As the RIE facilitator, it is important to understand not only what is included in your role, but what your role is not. Some of the common facilitation mistakes will leave you alone with no one following your lead and without a successful outcome. These common mistakes all come from misunderstanding your role. As a facilitator, it is not your role to have all the answers, to tell people what to do, to take the blame for the current scenario or credit for the fix. It's not your job to make excuses for others, and it's certainly not up to you to do all the work or to make everyone happy.
So what is your role? Well, it's the job of the facilitator to prepare for the event and set the team up for a successful result. The facilitator is there to guide the team to solutions, to ask probing questions. The facilitator should prepare the team with the right tools or methods for the task, to help the team to achieve agreements, keep them on task and on schedule, and to provide technical expertise and guidance wherever needed.
Throughout the event, people may be working together as a large group or small groups. They may be working together physically or virtually, or they may go off individually to complete action items. Regardless, the facilitator is driving the cycle of aligning the team so that they have a shared understanding. This may be at the beginning of the event where you ensure that the team understands the purpose of the RIE, the problem, the goal, and the root cause. Or it may be after the team splits up to tackle individual action items and then returns to share their results or findings. Once the team is aligned around the information, the next step is for the team to analyze, collaborate, and interpret the information. With the information shared and analyzed, the team will make decisions, and these decisions will result in actions. And the cycle continues until the job is done. As a facilitator, your role is to lead the team efficiently, productively, and seamlessly through this cycle to achieve the goal of the RIE.
In the preparation phase, you will have created the RIE agenda, which blocks off chunks of time needed for each milestone. However, we should not let the facilitation of the RIE be encumbered by an exact approach, such as adhering to exact timings or methods in the agenda. For any RIE, it's important that the right tools be applied in creative ways to ensure that the team's time is used most efficiently and effectively, and that the tools produce useful results.
Every rapid improvement event is different. It follows a well-established format, but the flow and outcomes are always different. The facilitator needs to be consistent, but must be flexible enough to recognize when a new approach or method would better serve the team.
Before you start the event, you'll need to be prepared to manage parking lot and action items. During the event, many different conversations and ideas will be explored. The scope can explode quickly and action items can accumulate rapidly. Before the event even begins, you'll need to be prepared to capture and organize these open issues so that they don't clutter and expand the work that must be done. This brings us to the parking lot and action items template.
And the simple one-point lesson for parking lot and action items for your reference. This is a great support tool to keep your workshop on track and avoid getting derailed by distracting issues. Whether you use this form or a simple flip chart or whiteboard, the important thing is to listen for and keep track of these items as they surface.
Now we're ready to kick off the event. Our event will begin with the leadership welcome. During the prep phase, the RAE facilitator will have identified the leader who will be kicking off the event, and the leader will have been prepared with a guideline to help them craft their message. The message will include a compelling need for change and a description of the current situation. The leader will clarify their expectations and the team's level of authority, and then they will gracefully transition to you.
It is your job to ensure that all these important points are made during the opening. If the leader misses something, it's up to you to bring it up and have the leader comment to show alignment and support. A pro tip here. As you may expect, organizational leaders many times have last-minute schedule changes, and you don't want to start the event off on the wrong foot if he or she doesn't show up. It will be important for you to be ready with backup plans to ensure that the points are made and that the team feels the leadership support and direction.
At the beginning of the event, the team may still be somewhat anxious about their role. They may fear that they're not up to the task, or that leadership won't support them, or that their colleagues will be unhappy about the improvement choices. It's the facilitator's job to reinforce the message delivered during the leadership welcome, further calm any concerns, generate energy, and communicate their confidence in the team's ability to succeed.
It helps to share what type of results other high-performing teams have been able to achieve. By establishing credibility and demonstrating competence within the first few minutes after taking the floor, the facilitator builds the team's confidence in themselves and in the facilitator's ability to guide them through any challenges that may arise.
The next step in the agenda is to ensure that the team is aligned. So what does this actually mean? This means that we cannot assume that everyone has the same understanding that we do. An understanding of which process we are focused on, which specific problem we are working to solve. We may have very different ideas about each other's role in the event and on what a good outcome looks like. This is called a false consensus. It means that we believe that everyone thinks like we do, and it can be very damaging and costly to a team.
We'll avoid the false consensus bias by not making decisions or taking actions based upon assumptions, and that we will use the project charter as our tool to make the foundational elements of the project explicit and to ensure shared understanding and alignment. Your main tools for the team alignment and to avoid false consensus are the project charter, the baseline data, the evidence of root cause, and the agenda. The objective is to ensure that the team has a shared understanding of the critical foundational elements of this project.
As the facilitator, it's up to you to determine the best method to review these elements and to ensure understanding. A typical format would be to present each element, review with the large group, and gather questions or comments from the team. If we've done a thorough job of preparation, including our stakeholder management, this team alignment should be quick and painless. It's not a time to determine the problem, to create the goal, or to analyze the root cause. Rather, we're checking for understanding and clarifying any confusion that may be out there before we move ahead. With the solid stage set, the team is ready to begin working on solving the problem.
Your RIE agenda will have to include time for interim briefings to leaders and key stakeholders. An interim briefing during an RIE is like a progress report. It is held at the end of each day or every other day with the team and leadership. Keep in mind, these are updates and not necessarily approvals. Leadership does not approve improvements. Once the team has fully explored any concerns that leadership has raised, leadership will honor their commitment to accept the team's decisions and selected improvements. It is the facilitator's job to make sure that the team fully exposes and explores issues that leadership raises and report findings back to leadership, typically during the next interim briefing.
A good RAE project is one with a known root cause, but an unknown solution. There will likely be ideas that have been discussed. There may be a variety of options, and we may already have identified a proven solution method. For example, we may have identified that 5S, Kanban, or visual management is needed, but we don't know how or what that will look like in our particular scenario.
Depending on our specific problem, the solution may be physical, like a new cart to move samples from one department to another. It might be a change in the process steps. For example, let's gather the patient's info before they arrive for their appointment. It might be a change in roles. For example, let's have the night shift security staff at the hotel deliver the newspapers to the doors when they make their rounds, or a multitude of possibilities.
Every RAE is different. Your RAE might be focused on a proven solution that you'll need to adapt to a specific area or a process, like visual management or 5S or Kanban. You might be focused on improving actual tools or resources, or maybe your team will be changing the process steps or improving access to information or resources. Or your root cause may require you to focus on clarifying roles. Regardless of your specific scenario, you'll need to provide the method and tools for the team to succeed at designing the improvement.
As we have learned, a major factor for a successful RIE is thorough preparation. As a green belt or black belt, you have access to all the templates and one-point lessons for proven solutions. And your teams, if you planned this well, will have participated in any relevant training modules prior to the event. Whether your team will be focused on 5S, visual workplace, or any other proven solution, there are a multitude of multiple resources readily available to utilize during this event. That said, we are not always starting with a proven solution in mind.
In many areas, the team will be working to create a unique solution from scratch. In this case, they'll need to understand basic brainstorming guidelines and techniques. The goal is to determine a solution that will have the greatest impact on the problem and that is within the resource constraints for the project. During the prep phase, you may have identified that the participants should enroll in a simple brainstorming module to give them a solid foundation. An RE facilitator will draw upon their own knowledge and experience with multiple tools and methods. If you should need a refresher in any specific topic, in your workbook you'll find a list of Greenbelt level modules that are available in our e-learning. All modules include the instructional video, a workbook, one-point lessons, and templates as your resource. As we're always adding new content, just check our website for a complete list of courses and modules. When the solution has been fleshed out and the details are in place, it's a good idea to perform a quick check with the team before going to pilot. This can be a simple check done on a whiteboard or through a verbal survey. The check is to get the team's feedback on whether our solution provides an obvious link to the root cause, is specific, is easily understood and implemented, is owned by the process workers, and will have measurable results. You can gather feedback using a simple 1 to 5 scale. Where we have a lower score, we assess how we can further refine. And where we have a very strong score, it's a great opportunity to understand the different perspectives.
Piloting is a trial implementation of the solution to ensure the effectiveness and the impact. Pilots that are run well consistently expose issues that we didn't think of and allow us to iron out the finer details of the solution before going live. The objectives of a pilot are to learn by doing. We test a portion of the solution, or we test the whole solution in a smaller, controlled area. We gather results and then make improvements as needed.
Common piloting strategies can include a specific geographic area, a limited time frame, a limited type of product or customer, a specific segment of the organization, or selected individuals within a work group. A good pilot will also help to gain buy-in and commitment from stakeholders. By the time we've completed our pilot, we will be confidently ready for a full-scale implementation.
In your workbooks is a simple pilot planning checklist to help you to plan for a successful pilot. When the pilot is successfully completed and the solutions refined, the team can move to full implementation of the solution.
As the pilot is running, whether it runs for an hour or a couple of days, the team will be highly focused on every detail of the changes so they can understand what is working and what's not working. There will typically be a war room set up where the team is reviewing data and feedback as close to real time as possible. There will likely be Gemba walks to observe the new process in action and to keep closely aligned with the workers in the process. The point of the pilot is to assess results and to uncover anything that we may have missed.
We will be looking to understand, did the solution achieve the expected results? Are there manageable opportunities to further refine? Is the solution sustainable? And are there unintended consequences?
With the pilot completed, if it's done well, there will definitely be refinements to be made. The data gathered during the pilot, feedback from employees, and facts gathered during the Gemba walks will lead us to opportunities to improve and, very importantly, to avoid mistakes when we go live. The team gathers to finalize their solution and prepare for the full implementation.
A smooth implementation, just like all good improvements, requires thoughts and preparation. The timeline and plans for the implementation must be set. This includes responsibilities for implementation tasks, plans on how to respond to issues, and a plan to assess the immediate results. The new procedures and any other materials or resources need to be prepared. Stakeholders must understand the plan and their involvement, if there is any. And lastly, we must plan to measure and display the affected KPIs. In your workbooks is an implementation checklist to guide you through the tasks that must occur to achieve a successful implementation.
When we've gone live with the new solution, we've monitored the results and addressed any issues that have arisen. We should see an improved process humming along and working smoothly. This is the time when we move to the next part of the event, which is to plan the follow-up.
While the new process is now up and running, if we close the project at this point, there will be a high likelihood that our new solution will fade and things can easily go back to the old ways of working. Or worse, we can end up with additional layers of complexity or confusion on an already struggling process. There will still be many loose ends and items that needs to be addressed. The follow-up plan is the key to sustaining and even expanding the gains from our improvement.
In addition to any parking lot and action items gathered throughout the RAE, the elements that should be considered for follow-up tasks include the formal validation of results. That's the comparison of the before data or evidence to the after picture. The final documentation, including process maps, user guides, references, and resources. Visual performance management. That's a mechanism to display the KPI visually with a plan for ongoing monitoring and response. Service level agreements, wherever needed, to clarify roles and handoffs in the process. And leader standard work, which defines what is needed from leadership to ensure sustained results. In the final step in the agenda, the RAE facilitator will lead the team through solidifying actions and ownership.
A specific person must be designated to lead the follow-up after the event. The lead may be the RAE team lead, a team member, or the process owner. The follow-up lead must have a strong understanding of the business processes that was the focus of the RAE. They must have the ability to lead and influence the implementation, the ability to coordinate and facilitate the execution of follow-up activities, and they must maintain communication with leaders, employees, and stakeholders. Together, the team will agree upon a detailed list of tasks, including who is responsible and by when. The follow-up plan will include a mechanism for monitoring and responding to open and closed action items.
The team presentation is the final part of the event. The presentation, typically an hour, is the opportunity for the RAE team to tell the story of their RAE to leadership and stakeholders, and to illustrate progress from the problem and evidence of root cause to the development of solutions to the implementation and follow-up plan. The presentation may be informal, for example on flip charts or a whiteboard, and may be in person or remote. The objective is to wrap up the event by sharing the RAE results with leadership and key stakeholders. The presentation will typically include a simple summary, including the project charter, evidence of root cause, a description of the solution, process map, new standard operating procedures, standardization, etc., the pilot summary, implementation highlights with the initial results, the follow-up plan, any parking lot issues or ideas to pass along to leadership or other process areas. Lessons learned, so what worked and what didn't work, and these are lessons gathered from all the people involved in the RAE. And lastly, a thank you for all who participated and those people who helped to make the project a success.
At this point, we have successfully facilitated the event and have created a detailed follow-up plan. Now it's time to move to the final phase, and that is managing the follow-up.